from each happily ever after, every wish upon a star. Let's break down the movies that shaped who we are, from memory lane to now and everything in between. The most famous of films to the ones we've never seen. Decade by decade, all the times we laughed and cried, and with a little pixie dust, they will all take flight, reliving the feelings, and we're trying our very best. And if they mean the same to you, please be our guest. So hop aboard, we would love to have you as we hang with a certain mouth, the whole gang too. If you love nostalgia stuff, we hope this does the trick. Thanks for joining us as we deep dive the magic.
Hi, and welcome back to the Deep Diving the Magic podcast. I'm KJ.
And I'm Jeffrey. And we are back with the 79th Disney feature-length film from July 29th, 1966. The film is called Lieutenant Robin Crusoe, U.S.N. Lieutenant Robin Crusoe, U.S.N. is the return of our dear friend Dick Van Dyke. It is loosely based on the story of Daniel Defoe's classic 1719 novel Robinson Crusoe. But before we go with any other facts, would you like to start us off with a synopsis or some opening thoughts?
Yes. A Navy pilot is marooned on an island with a headhunter's daughter and outcast tribal women. That is the synopsis of this dear film.
Lieutenant Robin Crusoe, U.S.N.
Yeah.
Walt Disney himself received writing credits on this film, but he was credited with his name spelled backwards.
Yep.
Any other facts or thoughts before we dive right in?
Well, that was one of the facts that I had. And you, like you said, it's mentioned at the beginning of the film. The production was granted permission to shoot on the U.S.N. aircraft carrier, the USS Kitty Hawk. As such, because of this, studio head Walt Disney scheduled the film's world premiere on the ship, with its crew being the only invited guest.
Nice.
Let me see. They filmed in Hawaii, and it was, I don't know how to say the name of the island there, so we won't even go into doing that. In the end, at the beginning of the film, Dick Van Dyke is solo on screen for the first 30 minutes of the film.
Carries it.
Yeah. I had never heard of this.
Me neither. I'm actually surprised you didn't write on your notes that someone died while making this film. Did you read that? Yeah, one of the crewmen died while filming with an injury that they succumbed from filming the film.
No, I did not read that.
That's sad, yeah.
Yeah, I did not read that.
But sorry to bring it down to a somber note. Would you like to dive right in?
Sure.
All right. So, we start off, we see a military ship at sea for the credits. There's a military band aboard that's playing. The troops all stand in formation.
Mm-hmm.
This is where it says that it's filmed with cooperation of the U.S. Navy, if the name didn't give it away. We see a helicopter lands aboard the ship, and we see a straw hat wearing man, which is Dick Van Dyke, getting off. Did your note say that he was the only person for the first 30 minutes of the film? Because the beginning of the film, there's hundreds of people on board the ship.
No, but during the first
After
solo of it, he's just nothing but solo. Yeah.
So he gets off this
and that's for 30 minutes of nothing but Dick Van Dyke.
Could be worse. So he gets off this, he's wearing a straw hat, and he gets off this helicopter. He's clearly had a rough go of things. It looks like he's all disheveled and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Set in the premise. So, and then it cuts to, so then this is where he's alone. It cuts to him he's laying in bed writing a letter to a sweetheart.
Yeah. And I have in my notes that Dick Van Dyke has the most beautiful long eyelashes in the opening scene.
That's why they picked him.
Like,
I don't know.
women would die for those eyelashes, and
So I have a serious question.
they're just beautiful.
Are
Anyway,
his eyelashes better than I don't remember the
Floyd.
no
Oh,
the goldfish from Pinocchio,
Cleo.
Cleo. She had those like
She
rocking
she she
eyelashes.
did have really good. I think I like hers better, but
Yeah, hers were rocking. We learned
yeah.
that through this letter, we learned that he didn't make it to his wedding. Clearly, he got tips from the absent-minded professor. It cuts to like a depiction of the story he's telling in his letter.
Mhm,
We see him flying his Navy airplane.
mhm.
He starts screaming Mayday and he ejects himself from an aircraft. He's like flying through the air.
Yeah, I forgot what the light specifically was that had lit up inside the cockpit, but it was something humorous.
Yeah. So he ejects himself from the aircraft. He lands in the ocean. And then conveniently in the ocean, he goes through his stuff and he finds a book called The Survival at Sea.
No, it is
It's called
called
Survival at Sea and Like It.
Survival at Sea and Like It.
And
And
Like It.
I have in my notes, wow, what a manual to have
And
in an
Like It.
emergency.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He begins to read the stories. Um, and but he ends up misreading the book. He misreads the part of the book and he ends up like eating too much of his rations.
Yes. And then I thought to myself, wow, MREs have really come a long way. Because he was eating what looked like Mentos, like colored Mentos.
He gets himself the hiccups. I know that much.
Yeah. Do not eat more than, I think it said two. And he'd like
Mhm.
popped like a whole thing of them.
Yeah. He thinks that he sees like a sail of like an upcoming ship, but it's a shark.
Yeah.
Which causes him to pop a hole in his raft.
Yeah. And the shark fin, when it first like popped up in the scene where he thinks to sail, it looks very animated. Like it looked like something off of like Mr. Rogers. And then it started to look more like real. So it kind of like I kept feeling like it was flashing in between like Mr. Rogers real. Mr. Rogers real. Did you get that?
No, because this is Dick Van Dyke, not
I
Mr. Rogers.
know, but it looked like something
He
off of
also had
Mr.
his own TV
Rogers.
show. It's called Dick Van Dyke.
Yes, I know.
All right. So he causes him to pop a hole in his raft, but he successfully patches it as the shark continues around.
Mm-hmm.
But that night, the worst thing happens as while he's sleeping in the raft, he begins to sleepwalk. So he gets himself all wet. He gets more days lost at sea. Um, there's um, there's no more food.
Yeah.
And he's all like running out of water, but then he realizes that he's on the water, and then we have a treacherous Disney storm.
Mm-hmm.
He ends up beaching himself on an island, and in the island he's all excited because he sees tables full of tourists and all these people, but we realize that it's just a mirage.
Yeah.
So he writes the word help in rocks. He builds a shelter, like he's in the Swiss Family Robinson. Builds a shelter. Another Disney storm comes, which causes.
He also had a coconut calendar, so he would keep track of his time there with coconuts on a line.
Yeah,
like he had 3 different lines, and he would
like an abacus or whatever, where you're like you
yeah.
have to do math or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever, another Disney storm comes and damages his shelter.
Mm-hmm.
He ends up getting all wet, so then he ends up having to fashion clothes, and he like just like this is where he's like all like disheveled looking, in the straw hat stuff. He explores more of the island, but no one is found. But then he ends up finding footprints, and he's like, "Those aren't my footprints."
Yeah.
He follows them back to the ocean, and while he's following them, he finds this giant submarine type
Japanese
ship.
sub.
Like, how'd you missed it before? But yep, kind of like the Nautilus from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Then he just like, all right, he climbs aboard, but clearly it's been there a while because there's like cobwebs everywhere.
Yeah, tons of cobwebs.
Yeah.
It actually, I don't know if you remember or if you wrote it down, but I didn't write it down, but I remember him specifically saying, like he made a reference to Nemo in there. Captain
Yeah.
Nemo.
That's later. I got it coming up.
Okay. But
So
I have a gripe about this. If you were on a deserted island and you basically were living in a leaf hut that you had made and needed shelter.
yeah, I would sleep in the submarine.
Why? Yeah, why does he not sleep in the submarine?
Well,
Like
he ends
he
up,
could
I
have
mean,
like
jumping
cleaned.
forward. He takes everything out of the submarine to help him build his shelter.
I know, but why? Why? I would have just stayed in the submarine. Like I wouldn't have even built a shelter.
Yeah, I don't know.
There was probably beds in there.
So he's exploring around, but he ends up like scaring himself.
Yeah.
But then we start to see like shadows moving around, like it's like a creature, and he's all like nervous. We then discover a militarily dressed chimpanzee who's yielding a gun. This is where he calls him Captain Nemo.
Floyd.
He shoots his gun, but ends up scaring the chimp. And then we learn that the chimp is Floyd. He's an astro chimp. So this chimp was one of the animals that were sent to space to see if space was safe for humans to go to. So technically, this astro chimp Floyd, property of the U.S. Navy, is actually like a hero.
Yeah, and somehow he had never been found.
Yep. So he was lost at sea in this submarine. Cool. We're up to date. Good. They take a bunch of tools and materials from the submarine, like you said, and they build themselves a successful shelter. It's like this beautiful shelter. It's like this 5-star hotel. It's got like a thing to like throw their like notes in a bottle like into the ocean.
Maybe the U.S. Postal Service station.
Yep, they got like a shower. They got like a golf course, but we'll get there. A bird ends up coming to join them. The bird like lives with them a little bit. They build, like I said, a bunch of contraptions. They play cards. Well, I guess I can call him Robin Crusoe. I keep calling him Van Dyke, but Crusoe gets drunk and Floyd beats him, and he cheats and wins in cards. But then a drunk Crusoe, the whole movie he's talking about his fiance. He's talking about his fiance. He was trying to go home to his fiance. He had to eject, so he never got a chance to get married. So he shows the chimp a picture of his fiance like in his wallet. He's all lovey and drunk. And the next morning they shake off their hangovers. They use the fancy shower. They go golfing on their man-made golf course. The chimp is better at robbing than golf. Of course he is. But then they find footprints, and these footprints are not like the other footprints.
Yeah, well, at first he fusses at Floyd and he's like, I told you when you come over here, you have to clean up your footprints. He's like, wait, those aren't yours.
They're
but
bigger
they're not
than Floyd.
mine either.
Yeah, they're bigger than Floyd's, but they're smaller than Robin's.
Yep.
Correct? Okay. So they follow them into this like cave that looks like it's like an ancient dwelling that looks like a hollowed out head. How else would you describe it? It's like one of those like
it reminded me of something
like
off
Easter
of
Island,
Legend of the Hidden Temple.
Yeah, it's like this like hollowed out head. That you
I
can
guess like
live
Legends of the Hidden Temple meets Easter Island.
Easter Island's the right place, right? I was right by saying that.
I think so. Yeah.
So he looks out like he looks out like the nose or one of the eyes or whatever, and he sees this like lovely Hawaiian looking lady, like very beautiful.
The headhunter's daughter.
Well, we'll get there.
Well, that's who she is, and she makes her appearance.
She ends up fainting, and then when she wakes up, she's like screaming. She's like wrestling him, like he's like, "Hey, I just want to like talk to you," but he doesn't know that she what language she speaks, so he's like
trying to
communicate with her like through like sign language kind of. She keeps attacking him, so he ends up tying her up to like a like a log that he can like carry with her, but like a way to like transport her with like she's like tied up.
Yeah. I don't really know how you would describe that contraption that he had made, because it was kind of like handcuffs, but it was almost like a wheelbarrow, but without the barrel. And he had her tied to the front of it where she was walking in front of him, so she couldn't like hit him anymore, but then he could still guide her. if that makes sense.
She's still trying to attack him. At one point, she uses a sword. Um,
Yeah, because we just have a sword.
but then she can't attack him when like she's given a chance, but then she's not able to attack him. But she starts crying. He's using all these different like language techniques. And he ends up getting her to admit, like through like the sign language, and, like these language techniques, that she's alone on her island. She's alone on the island,
Mm-hmm.
and her father is not a nice fella.
Mm-hmm.
But then she just starts speaking plain English, and he's like, "Why did you not just start talking to me in the beginning?" Like, and she's like, "Oh, I wasn't sure, whatever." So she just starts speaking regular English. So it fills us in though. She's alone on the island, and her father is a bad dude. He's a headhunter. Go ahead and fill that in. Anything else that I missed?
He's a headhunter. He's not a good guy.
Women don't have rights or whatever. We'll get there on that, but
Basically, he sounds like a male chauvinist. And
he
she was going to be married off and didn't have the choice of who she wanted to marry, so she left.
yep. So she ran off, but like this dude, the headhunter dad, like says that he hears this like Easter Island head thing talking to him and like telling him what to
Yes,
do.
because he's the leader, so he gets all, but nobody else in the village can hear the
I
building
wrote
talk.
down what it's called later. Um,
Yeah, so he says he can hear it, but like none of the other
mm,
men on the island can hear it. So that's basically why he's the leader,
yeah.
because he's the chosen one, I guess.
So she was left there to be sacrificed due to her unwillingness to marry, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
So they take her back to like their beautiful like shelter. Crusoe offers to sleep outside, but then again, the biggest Disney storm that we've ever seen so far comes and washes him out. But Floyd won't let him into the shelter because he told him that he would sleep outside,
Mm-hmm.
so he's all wet. Um, um, so next day, Robin's trying to write to his fiance. We find out that he writes to her twice a day. Um,
How does he have that many bottles?
well, at one point he was getting drunk, so
I know, but
I don't know. So he's putting like the message in a bottle and putting it on this like post office thing to send it into the water.
mm-hmm.
And he sees this like ship coming, and he gets nervous because the girl, whose name is Wednesday, by the way,
He names her Wednesday.
He calls her Wednesday,
and that was supposed to be a reference to someone named Friday out of something else. I think I wrote it down, but I'm not sure. Yeah, so the character name of Robinson Crusoe was a spoof. Robin Crusoe was a spoof of Robinson Crusoe, whereas the character name of Wednesday was a parody of Friday from the Daniel Defoe's classic novel Robinson Crusoe.
Oh, well, there you go. So he's putting his message in the bottle, and he sees like a ship coming, and he's all like nervous, thinking that it's Wednesday's headhunting father. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Oh my god, he's coming for us! We're all gonna die." So
Floyd's hiding.
Yeah, great. They panic, but then we see that Wednesday starts like running towards these people, and it's just a bunch of females, like a bunch of girls arrive at the island. And they call them like his sister, like her sister.
She
cousins.
says, "My sisters and cousins."
Yeah. So
because woman's got rights.
Yeah. So, but Robin is like trying to like train them like in like the Navy way, like to like get like an army.
So they're basically going through boot camp.
Mm-hmm. So whatever, he's trying to
because they're gonna fight her father when he comes.
Yep. So whatever, a bunch of like shenanigans happens. People are falling in the water. Your typical like slapstick military training. He takes things out of the submarine to like prepare for battle, and one of the things is that he takes a PA system and he puts it into like the shallow head to like be able to talk to the father if he comes. I actually got confused. I remember like when I was watching this, I got confused. I even asked you because I thought that she was scared of that head because of like the legend or whatever. I mean, it makes sense.
She wasn't scared of it, but I don't think she knew that he'd put a PA system inside of it, and she just happened to walk up when he was testing it out and she thought
that it was talking.
that it was talking to her. So she's
Yeah.
like, I hear it too.
So then she ends up here.
Woman's got rights.
Women have rights is what it was. So and I wrote it down that this is Dick Van Dyke is now 2 for 2 in a Disney film with a women's activist in it.
Yeah, because she kept saying, women's got rights.
Who's more of a women activist, Mrs. Banks or
I would
Wednesday?
have to say this woman, because the other one I just did not like at all. I was not a fan of Mrs. Banks. I'm sorry. I'm a fan of Wednesday.
So they end up flirting, and Robin actually forgets his fiance's name while he's trying to write her a letter. But then we see that the father is finally arriving to the island. Mm-hmm. Headhunter, Mr. Headhunter, is showing up. What's the headhunter's name from? What's the headhunter's name from the Jungle Cruise? Oh, it's Trader Sam. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't think that was this guy.
No, I know it's not, but there you go. So
I had kind of wondered if that's where they had got the name from, but I don't think that's the same.
So
I didn't think he's on there anymore.
No, but he has like he has a bar at the Polynesian.
Yes, but I'm pretty sure they removed him from the ride.
Yeah, probably. So the father's finally arriving to the island, and the battle will soon begin. Wednesday fights her father because women have rights. Mm-hmm. Oh, so then Robin is like, all right, I have to go back to this like empty head to like talk. So he thinks that it's that like they can say women have rights, but he ends up like falling into one of his own traps.
Yeah.
But Floyd ends up letting him free after laughing at him.
Yeah. Because Floyd had actually got stuck in the same trap earlier.
Mm-hmm. So then Wednesday like begs the large head to speak, but it's not speaking because he's not there yet. But then
he's trapped.
Robin makes it over, and much to everyone's shock, the head starts to speak.
The eyes start to light up.
Oh yeah, it's like smoking. There's like they got a whole show.
And her dad is like, why is he speaking in white man voice?
So they use things from the submarine to like attack and embarrass the father, but unfortunately, like the water pressure becomes too high. Like they turn the water pressure too high. So then Robin comes like flying out like on the hose or whatever.
He did a little bit of everything. Fire shot out of this thing. Yeah. A fire extinguisher shot out of it, and then the water. And then the water, he ended up saying, more, Floyd, more. And
then it ends up like shooting him out, and then he gets like outed.
Busted.
But then at the same time, the head accidentally catches on fire. Like the whole thing catches on fire.
Well, he didn't really catch on fire to the extent of it caught the fireworks inside of it.
Yeah, that's fire. What it was. Yeah.
So then you have fireworks going off inside the head, shooting out of the head. Mm-hmm. It was all very comical.
Slapstick. So the father and his men flee. But then he like the fireworks like make him go flying out the seams. Then he turns around and comes back. Like the fireworks like take him back. His like ship back onto the island. The big head explodes. But like as it explodes, it like lands like and it's just like smiling. Yeah. Like the debris is a smiling head. Mm-hmm.
And Wednesday says he's smiling now.
Yep.
Because women's got rights.
Right. So then after all of this more slapstick nonsense. So whatever, it's a bunch of stuff going on. And then the father, Wednesday, and Robin end up all like making like they all make peace with each other. Mm-hmm. And so they're all just like talking and enjoying the island. And then Robin's like, oh, I don't want to marry your daughter. I'm not here to marry your daughter. And he's like, I don't have a plan to marry her. I have a fiance.
But he already did the marriage dance with Wednesday. So then she's upset. Which causes everybody, including Wednesday and all of her sisters and cousins, to chase after him. At the same time, though, on his escape, he's able to flag down a helicopter. Mm-hmm.
and he's able to flee just in time. Like he gets on this helicopter and he gets up while all these girls are like chasing after him because he won't marry this girl. But he's like, no, 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 we have to go back because there's no man left behind. And he's like, there's somebody there who's more important than me. And the guys on the helicopter are like, are you crazy? Like they're like chasing after you. But they lower him back down. And he's able to escape the women again. And this time he brings Floyd the chimp with him because remember, he's a war hero.
Mm-hmm.
And then after he gets Floyd the chimp on the helicopter, it cuts back to him on the ship telling the story. And everybody
Nobody
is
really caring about
yeah.
his story. They just are fascinated that they got Floyd
Yep,
back.
everyone's excited about Floyd the chimp. Floyd the chimp is the nation's first hero from outer space. And that's the end of the story.
Yeah. Did you notice there was a scene where he was trying to escape the island girls and he started to sing some of the words from Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious?
I did not. I did not.
He did.
We're even now. I knew that someone died and you knew about Mary Poppins.
I know.
I didn't.
Did it say what happened to the person?
No.
Like how they were injured when they were
it was
filming
like
it?
one of someone working on the crew or whatever.
That's sad.
So how'd you rate it? What you think?
Well, considering I had never heard of it, I wasn't going in it with high hopes. But I did enjoy the slapstick comedy. IMDb gives it a 5.8. I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Because of Floyd?
Because of Floyd and woman's got rights.
Women have rights.
No, woman's got rights.
Oh, that's a women have rights on the thing.
No, she said woman's got rights.
I agree. Kind of like in Mary Poppins. Dick Van Dyke is just bringing in the women's suffrage. So does this make your list upon a star?
It is not.
So then what is your list upon a star?
So my list upon
Dick
a
Van Dyke
star,
is 0 for 2 on your list upon a star.
I know. Jerk. And I enjoy Dick Van Dyke, but maybe he should have just stayed on Bewitched.
Was Dick Van Dyke on Bewitched?
Yes. He was one of the people.
I'm gonna fact check you.
Yeah.
I mean, you're probably right, but go ahead.
I mean, I think somebody, I don't remember if he started it or if he finished it, but I think at some point the character he played was replaced either by him or
Dick
by
York
somebody else.
was on. Keep going.
Anyway, so my list upon a star is 101 Dalmatians, The Parent Trap, Sleeping Beauty, Dumbo, Lady and the Tramp, That Darn Cat, The Three Caballeros, Moon Pilot, The Shaggy Dog, and Peter Pan. What?
I mean, Dick Van Dyke had a Dick Van Dyke show. It's coming up in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
I'm pretty sure I thought he was on Bewitched.
I'm getting there. I don't doubt you.
You didn't look up Bewitched?
Dick Van Dyke. I did, and his name wasn't on the list for Bewitched, and I'm going in.
Like the old one?
He was on Sabrina. I'm getting there. Hold on. Please hold. So while I'm looking up, this also does not make my list upon a star. My list upon a star is staying firm right now of the 101 Dalmatians, Mary Poppins, Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland, Babes in Toyland, Pinocchio, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Sleeping Beauty, and That Darn Cat. It was on the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Maybe that's what I was thinking of.
I mean, he had his own show too.
Yeah.
The Dick Van Dyke Show. Either way, so thank you for hanging out with us today. Thank you for hanging out with Floyd the Chimp, the first space hero. We'd love to hear from you if you knew if he was on the Bewitched.
I guess he wasn't.
Deep diving the magicpod@gmail.com. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. Thank you for watching. Our next film, believe it or not, is number 80. 80. We're already up to 80 films.
And how many more left?
600. Maybe more by the time we get there. But from October the 1st of 1966, like I said, film number 80 is a film called The Fighting Prince of Donegal. Yeah. We'll see you then.
Thanks for deep diving the magic.
Bye.
Bye.